Hello everyone and welcome to the DMside. That's right, we did not get the full name. There is a 641 on that name, and it's because somebody had the full name. So whoever you are, if you are not getting the full value of it, I would love to have that name because it's a good name. But a little bit of housekeeping. I have recently created the DMside Instagram page. That's where I'll be taking photos of the setup when I'm filming. I'll be taking photos of the actual book itself and the excerpts for us to talk about. And I'll take some photos of the actual game nights, the maps that we play on, the miniatures we're using, and sort of things like that. Just kind of like a behind the scenes of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, moving on from there, I did say there would be a character backstory introduction video this week, but I am still waiting on one player to give me their backstory, so I can't finish the video. As soon as I get the backstory, I'll finish the video and it will be up as soon as possible. But for this video, I realized I've been doing some more preparation and there were some things that I missed from the first one. And this may happen in the future because I'm going to continuously be prepping and maybe go, oh, you know what, the viewers may want to hear about this. It's kind of important. So today we're going to talk about the overview of the story and the villain or villains. So the overview of the story needs a little bit of backstory, a little bit of history. So I'm going to give that to you right now. So just bear with me. If you would like a full history on Waterdeep, comment down below. I'd like to have that history, thanks. And I will start working on that video. But the brief history that you need right now is there was once a gentleman by the name of Neverember, and he was the open lord of Waterdeep, basically the guy in charge. And he embezzled 500,000 gold pieces from the city and hid them in a magical vault built by dwarves. He then asked a wizard to create this magical stone called the Stone of Galore, which housed an aboleth inside of it, which is this really cool ancient creature. You should look them up. Anyway, you need the stone to find the vault. He then placed the stone nice and safe in the Palace of Waterdeep for protection. He left the city one day to go further up north to the city of Neverwinter, which had just been basically destroyed by this volcanic eruption. So he wanted to go and oversee how it was going, how it was being built, and all that sort of stuff. While he was away, two things happened. One, he was ousted as the Open Lord of Waterdeep, and he was not allowed to come back. So he couldn't even get the money himself if he wanted. And to make matters worse, the actual stone itself was stolen from the palace and wound up in the hands, or lack of hands, of the crime syndicate gangster leader known as Xanathar, who has his whole syndicate that runs through Waterdeep. We'll get to him in a minute. That's sort of the main story that you really need, but let's follow that stone for a little bit. Xanathar is basically having a meeting with the Zhentarim, who are another black network thieves guild known throughout the land. And they are trying to form an alliance together. Something happens during that meeting and the stone goes missing. Xanathar blames the Zhentarim and now there's war between the two rival guilds. However, what they didn't know is that one of Dagult's trustworthy members, someone that he hired essentially to get the stone, has taken it from Xanathar and is trying to give it back to him. But he dies in the process from a big fireball explosion, and now the Stone of Galore has gone missing once again. The character's goal is to basically find the stone, if possible, and stop the gold caches from falling into the hands of the villains, or the villain of the story. So what does that mean when I say the villains, or the villain of the story? Here's what it is. Normally in a Dungeons and Dragons story, you are given the problem, something to fix, or something that needs to be changed. And that usually centers around one particular person or a group of people, known as the villains. But this story is different because you have the option of picking one of 4 villains. And those villains dictate what season it will be in Waterdeep. And I love that idea because that really changes the mood of the whole story. So I do have one in mind that I really would like to use. I will tell you during this video. But I want to make it clear that as we move on, the actual story, the way my players interact with all of the villains and their henchmen, they may actually push it in the direction of a new villain. They might love the person that I pick and actually want to help them, and that will actually create complications with one of the other 3. So I have one that I like, I'm going to put them forward, but I'm never going to railroad my characters and make them just go, oh, nah, that person automatically hates you, you must battle them, you're never going to make friends with them, they are the villain. I'm actually going to let them create these relationships and these connections with these characters and see how that changes the story. But who are these villains? Let's start in summer. If we start in summer, we have the option of the nobles, known as the Casalentas, being the villains of the story. They're a noble couple who are devil worshippers. They worship, and it just happens to be the ruler of hell, Asmodeus. That's right, there's 9 levels of hell, plenty of devils along the way, and they worship the main dude, the big guy himself. And they wanted power when they were younger, and they said, you know, we really want power, please give us power, we need it. And he turned around and said, you know what, for a very cheap price of your children's souls, you can have the power you desire. And so they gave their children's souls away, not thinking they'd ever want them again. Got their power, and now they're at a point where they're like, well, actually, we want our kids back, thanks. So they would like to get the cachet of gold dragons to pay Asmodeus and buy back their kids' souls, essentially. Now, I love this idea because, you know, these characters in the book, the way it explains them is that they actually don't want to murder your players. They will use their status to, one, spread misinformation, so that way they may go off on the wrong trail and not catch them. And two, if they are being targeted, they actually use their power as nobles to discredit your players. So they actually just want to move them along and get them out of their sight. And I actually really think that's a good roleplay aspect and a very good political side. The only reason I'm a little bit not keen on them is that these players, we just ran Descent into Avernus, and so we've kind of had a lot of hellscape devils at the moment. And so I don't know if we really want to have that as the main villain again, but they may go in that direction. So, moving into autumn, we have probably my favorite. I am going to say now, he is my favorite, and I will be pushing them in this direction. It's Jaxel Bainray, who is a swashbuckling drow, who is the secret lord of the city of Luskan, the city of sails, which is a little bit north of Neverwinter. Now, he would like to get the cachet of dragons to buy his way into the Lord's Alliance. The Lord's Alliance, very quickly, is a faction that works amongst the whole Sword Coast, and it consists of Neverwinter, Waterdeep, and surrounding towns and cities. They all work together to kind of create peace and protect the land. So he actually is looking for a real power play. He wants more power amongst the nobility and the factions of the land to have more control. So he's a really fun character because you don't really know if it's necessarily an evil intention. And he's charismatic. He's got a really cool... This is how he enters the city. Basically, he comes in on 3 big ships, and they're carnival ships, and he goes in the guise. He disguises himself as a human known as... And I'm just going to get the book for this because the name of him is he's the Sea Captain Zardos Zord. Sea Captain Zardos Zord, he comes in on these carnival ships as his disguise, and his main goal is to, yes, get the money so he can buy his way into the Lord's Alliance for more power. Now, the problem is, he's really fun because he's charismatic and he will want to... He loves watching people fail. So he loves watching the characters basically realize that their plan isn't working. So I think there's a lot of fun wordplay there, a lot of conversation. But the downside is that at the end of the day, he's willing to actually kill the characters. He will violently... It says violently murder people that get in his way. So that could be extremely dangerous for them. Now, if we go into winter, remember when I said that the Zentarum and the Xanathar's guild were having a conflict because Xanathar thought that the Zentarum stole the stone? Well, here is the third option. In winter, you have a gentleman by the name of Manchun. He is actually a clone of himself, and he wants to get the cachet of dragons so he can bribe the 12 masked lords of Waterdeep to elect him to be the new open lord of Waterdeep, so he is in control. Now, very briefly, the masked lords are 12 nobles who are masked by magical means, so you don't know who they are, so they can't be bribed, essentially. But that doesn't mean there aren't ways to figure out who they are. So he wants to take control of the city through bribing those lords, which is awesome. Really cool thing about him is that he doesn't want to be found out until the very last second. So he'll actually avoid the characters for a long time. And so it could be this real cat and mouse, like, oh, he was just here. You know, we're going to go there. The trail leads this way. So a lot of investigation could happen with him in winter. When it's snowing, there'd be trails along the snow. You know, there's so much fun you could have with that. Finally, in spring, we do get to Xanathar himself, this disgusting beholder. If you don't know what beholder is, I'll put an image up of him now. It's this just big ball with an eye in the middle, this big toothy grin. I think it's about 12 tentacles that come off of them, and there's eyeballs on them, and they shoot lasers. He is a paranoid megalomaniac creature who runs this crime syndicate underground, and it is a very fun character, but in my opinion, the most dangerous character. He just wants to get the Stone of Galore so he can get the money because he wants it for himself. He doesn't really have a nefarious means. He's got a lot of hold right now on the city, And so he just thinks the money would be best kept under his watchful eye, because he knows that there are other factions, other people out there who want to find it to basically take the city from him. And he doesn't want that. And he's completely scared of that happening. Not scared, but just paranoid about it happening. And so that's why he's trying to stop them. He is by far the most dangerous. Beholders are an extremely dangerous creature in the game of D&D, and if the players go up against him, they're only going to be level 5 at the end of the story, because the goal isn't to kill the enemy, it is to get in their way and stop them from getting the money. Which could move on to higher level campaign stuff, which is very exciting. Anyway, those are the 4 villains. That is the overview of the story, what we're expecting to happen and what their overarching goal will be. Comment down below if you have actually played this story, which villain did you have and how did it turn out? Would you have preferred a different villain? Did your villain change throughout the actual campaign because of your character's choices? And of course, comment down below any other advice, any other things you would love to say, and I will see you in the next video.